Shop and chef fans, you're looking at the pretty and well-kept Airstream Excella. This is a 1992 model. Right now, this particular rig has an air conditioner issue on the roof, and so let's talk about what that air conditioner issue is. The real issue here, the air conditioner won't run when the fan is turned on, even though the compressor is off. So the fan will start and then it will run, but then it turns itself off. The assumed culprit is the fan motor, and so at this point the owner has a new fan motor. The old motor was an A.O. Smith motor, probably 1/8 horsepower and about 1.7 amps. The new motor looks like it's going to be a little heavier, so let's take a look at how we get that air conditioning motor swapped out, and then we get the new motor in place, the proper wiring done, and Sin goes on his way with a cool and comfortable coach. All right, you're looking at the Coleman Mach, and what we're after is that A.O. Smith fan motor. And here we also have a great view of the overall air conditioner schematic from Coleman Mach for this 1992 version. So this is a great little document to understand the current wiring diagram on the existing Coleman Mach. It looks like it has 4 primary wires and then a green ground. That motor is 3.1 amps. Yep. So the old motor was, I think, less, and so we'll watch and see. You need to know the shaft lengths on that motor, and you also need to know the shaft diameter to be ensured that we can reach the fan and the other devices, and that is the right shaft diameter. And here you have a good look at the spec on Sin's replacement motor. It has 2 speeds. You see the top speed is 1625. I'm going to guess the bottom speed is about 1100. And there's your wiring diagram on the right. And we have the shafts extending both directions. What we're going to do now is make sure we expose the colors on all these wires, just kind of clean up that exit, and then over here where it goes into the capacitors. And so we need to be sure that we don't cross over the terminals of the capacitors while we're up here. And we think that the red and black are both aimed at the high and low speed on the motor. And so both of those should be carrying hot line power. And he's going to have, for the compressor over here, a start capacitor and a run capacitor. So there's a 5 microfarad fan capacitor. These are pretty small. The fans don't present a big challenge to get running, and so that's not a heavy capacitor there. But so you can tell that he's been hunting this problem, wasn't lucky enough to find it in the capacitors, and so the next suspect is the fan motor. All right, and here's your 2 choices, the first of 2 that give you the wiring diagram. And take a good look at the fan. You need black, red, and white to the regular wiring harness, and then you're going to need a brown with white and a brown to go over to the fan capacitor. It's real straightforward, 5-wire setup, and then you have the green ground as well. Sin actually bought a 4-wire motor, and although it has 2 speeds on the fan, it doesn't have the 2 brown wires for the fan capacitor. So here you see a brown and a white going to the fan capacitor. It's a little different setup. The black and red still control high and low speed for the fan. You'll see the fan goes into the fan housing. There's the blade on the fan housing. And then back here on the back end of it, you have your squirrel cage fan here. And so what we're going to do now is disassemble the fan. We're just going to take a quick look over the top here. The fan motor has a base there, 4 screws on the base. Then you see Sin has centered the Allen head on the fan shaft. And so his plan there is to remove the fan blade from the fan drive shaft. And then back here on the back of the casing, you notice there's a door here that's like a port door. There's some screws in the bottom of that door, and I believe if we disassemble that the squirrel cage fan will pass through this retaining wall here and go right through where this port door is, and we'll have enough clearance over here to bring the motor forward, free the fan squirrel cage, and then remove the motor. And Sin's doing the hard work to free the fan blade from the fan motor shaft. Been up here for a lot of years. Let's go ahead and cut this wire connector here, and we'll free that wire bundle up, and we'll get on into the wires for the fan motor. There's the inside of the Coleman Mach's squirrel cage fan, and we have a lot of wasp nests. And then over here we have some more. And so right down, and here you have Sin's 4-wire Century ORV 4538. That is a Century motor that cross-references to an A.O. Smith motor. There you can see the specs. 1/4 horsepower, 1625 RPM on the top, 3.1 amps, 115 volts. That shows you the rotation. Has a bearing sleeve, semi-enclosed, has a, looking for a 7.5 microfarad capacitor. And there's your cross-reference detail. Picture. Right here you can see Sin with his, got a little pump pressure household sprayer, and he's used the coil cleaner. We'll show you that can in a minute. And he's spraying out those coils, and there he had some dirt dauber nests and other stuff on here, and so he's cleaning that up nicely. You can see the water coming out on the side over here. Lots of that coming down, and so lots of dirt. So he's going to get a whole lot more efficiency out of those coils. And let's just take a look over on this side. The coil cleaner has already been applied. It was left here to run for about, soak down for about 5 minutes. And then that was hosed off with the household sprayer with some pressure on it, just like we're seeing now. And that house, there we go. All right, Sin's using this. I love this torch. He's gonna use this torch to heat that housing. Get it good and hot. Stay right on it, Sin, for a little while. And then roll it around. And we're trying to knock that thing off. Get the glue down on top of the, closer to the housing. It's hotter. Good. We're trying to expand that fan collar so we can knock it off the end there. All right, Sin is going to, after having tried to remove the shaft, it won't come out, and so we're going to cut it off with a Makita cutoff tool. So he's going to work his way through that. All right, and here you can see Sin's got the motor out, and the squirrel cage fan has been removed. And the blade fan over here on the other side is also removed. He's done a good job on the coil cleanup. And as you look around at the coils, I can see right through them, so that means they're doing their job. There's the compressor. And over here, he's replaced all of the capacitors. You'll see the smallest capacitor is the fan capacitor. And Sin's going to wire the appropriate brown wire on the fan motor. And we've understood that a white wire can go on there as well. So that's what we'll do with the fan capacitor, and at that point we'll try the motor and see if it turns. There's all the hardware sitting in the trough there, and it looks to me like pretty much we're in good shape to plug up the motor and get going. Alright, and here's the motor base, and Mr. Sin has got the motor base mounted on the motor. You can see it's a angled motor mount that goes on a base that holds it up in the air, and that'll then clear the squirrel cage fan and the front blade fan so that they can go into their housings. So I think he's got it all done. Just looking at the setup, let's set it up on its, yep. Good, now you had to find the screws and bolts to make it all go in. It's kind of a hodgepodge, but yep, there it sits. Those rubber feet that are on, if you look right here, these rubber feet are used to isolate the motor's vibration from the coach so you don't shake your coach while you're running your AC. So that's a good plan. He's already checked both of these the shafts. This is a 1/2-inch shaft with a flat side on it, and he checked his fans to make sure that they went on. And so on the one end he has the squirrel cage fan you see here, so that'll be mounted on the shaft. And then on the other end he's got the cooling fan. So let's just take a look over here, kind of hangs there. So squirrel cage on one end, cooling fan on the other. And you got a pretty good setup here. Basically, it's he's ready to go. We've got what we think is an appropriate wiring harness on the top. And so really all he's going to have to do is put his set screw in on the squirrel cage fan. Oh, I'm sorry, on the blade fan. Then he'll put this set screw, you can see right here on the shaft. He's going to run that down on the main shaft. And there you can look at the full assembly, kind of the design of the motor. Now let's hope that the wiring works out. And all right, yep, there we go, turn around. And if the wiring works out, basically all he's gonna do is he's gonna drop it in there on top of the mounting bolts here. Then he's gonna connect the wires, which we have gone ahead and put the appropriate quick plug setup. So if it doesn't work, he can simply, each of these wires has a crimped fitting on the end of it. You can see we bothered to heat shrink that, right? So we crimped it and then we heat shrinked it. And so for all of your fittings now, all the wires are quick release. All he has to do is connect all those wires up, and then if it doesn't do what he wants to do, then he can simply take those wires loose, being careful not to cross the terminals on any of the capacitors, because we might find him on the ground. All right, that's the whole thing. I think we're ready. Sin, how's it been so far?
Really good, but it's hot.
Successful job with the motor on the mounts, the fan ready to go, the squirrel cage. By the way, he had to cut the shaft in half of the old motor, and then he had to hammer the shaft through actually it was through the fan where the shaft was really lodged in the fan. It went in a vise and then a great big drift and a hammer, and it still didn't come out. No. And that's when we took a blowtorch and heated the collar, and what happened? It flew out. Oh, wow. All right, I think we're good for now. We're going to say shush and we'll come back. Sin is hunting where the problem is on his air conditioner, but it's unclear. So you can see here in his first effort, he has replaced all the capacitors. Numbers 1, 2, 3, all sitting there. The fan capacitor is the one that's disconnected right now. And we crimped and shrink wrapped all the wires, so there are all the wire ends. And then there is his assembly. Condenser, evaporator, compressor, and look, here is his motor assembly. Let's get a closer look. All right, we were able to see Sin's fan motor running. It's tilted right now to get it to clear the housing. Well, Sin got his compressor all organized and the wiring done, and so here's where we will leave him. He'll still need to install that port door back there on the side of the squirrel cage fan, finalize his fan base mount to the casing, and then close up the unit. They say to be sure to mount all of your capacitors metal to metal and bundle them up with a metal strap. And then seal up the unit. So good work, Sin. We're going to close out here. And it's great to see a new fan motor running in an older air conditioner. And so that's it for us from RV Shop and Chef.